Good day, Doctor. This is our mapping tool that start with the unit title from the acid, base and salt from Form 4 textbook. First, the current phenomenon essential question. The teacher will show daily use items like lemon, orange, toothpaste, and soup to the student, which is we discuss this as a pre-class. Then the conceptual goal is the topic of 6.1, the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. And the performance expectation, a student are able to answer the question of acid and alkaline that will be asked by the teacher. So for the learning objective, 6.1.1 define acid and alkalines. 6.1.2 state the meaning of basicity of an acid and alkaline. 6 of an acid. Then 6.1.3 investigate the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties through experiment. As for the assessment, we use formative assessment only. So student will ask question to define acid and alkaline and able to understand the meaning of acid and base. Student will ask to do a more formative assessment that we did is activity like Google Jamboard. So student could give their talk about the lesson.
Okay, so for STM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and STEM, we have two things that we have implement: planning and career investigation, and engaging and in argument from evidence. DCI, disciplinary core idea, we have used interaction between method, and CCC, the cross-cutting concept. F2, skills is experimenting, communication, clarifying, comparing and contrasting data, and grouping. Value, we have used to be honest when answering the open end questions, systematic, confident, and ethical. Be responsible for the safety of one's, others, and environment. Level, we have used local. And then, how does this lesson to make explicit connection between target STEM and DCI is while planning and carry out investigation, student can engage in an argument based on evidence to understand the interaction between matter. And then, when engaged in an argument from evidence, students are highly required to communicate with each other, make sure the data is obtained is accurate. And for the last one, how does this lesson unit make explicit connection, which is CCC and DCI. In 5E, especially in exploration part, students are construct the knowledge of interaction between the method. All of it we have explained detailedly in our mapping tool.
Hello, good day, Doctor. I'm from Group 4, consists of me, Rashid Abdul Khalil. My group mates are Amir, Sumita, and Irfan. So I will start the first point of Appendix A, which is the grounding phenomena and essential question. So for the grounding phenomena, we choose to engage students with basic daily life things. So teacher will show lemon, toothpaste, soap, and orange, and will ask them some essential question to let students get the idea of what they are going to learn for today's lesson. So by asking the essential question, student will be focused on the text and student will start to guess the topic. So this webinar will be relevant for the students because they will usually encounter the basic daily life things like lemon, toothpaste, coffee, and orange. So thus they will relate these phenomena easily to understand the concept of acid and base. So basically, this phenomena will be encountered by students via observation by involving themselves in their daily life. For example, students will use toothpaste to brush their teeth for coming to schools and eat fruits that are like in a sour taste like lemon or orange. So they will be easily to adapt their prior knowledge and experience with this lesson. Every student will need to try to answer the question, and if the student are not familiar or any student voice out that they do not recognize the daily things that are shown by the teacher, so the teacher will definitely explain back to them. So this is some the essential question that will be asked by the teacher. For example, first, what is this? What is this? So expected answer from the student would be lemon. And how does lemon taste? and we will be expected student to answer the taste would be sour and so on. Like this list, it consists of almost 6 questions here. So next for the conceptual goal. The scientific concepts that contribute to the students' understanding of the phenomena is the concept of roles of water in showing acid and basic properties. So in order to understand the concept, student needs to understand about the property of acid and alkaline. The practical concepts that student can apply to explore the concept are first the skills is the classifying, comparing, contrasting data and grouping, experimenting and communication. For the value, we choose to the value of P harness when answering the open-ended question, systematic, confident and ethical, and be responsible for the safety of oneself, others and environment. Next, for the appendix C, which is the performance expectation. The science engineering practices SEP students could utilize to explore this concept SP3, which is planning and carrying out the investigation. Students could explore the properties of acid and base and the role of water in showing the acidity and basicity properties of a substance. So students will learn the meaning of acid by Arrhenius theory and the meaning of base. So from this, students are expected to be more aware about the use of acid and alkali in their daily life, and students should be able to differentiate between the acid and base. That means they are clearly understand the concept of both acid and base. So they will be able to describe the acidity and basicity and conducting experiment to show the role of water in showing the acidity and basicity of a substance. Thus, the identified performance expectation are able to fulfill from the conceptual goal. Next, the scientific concept that already have been covered by with students are characteristic of acid in terms of pH value, taste and corrosiveness, and the effect on litmus paper. This is related to the students' prior knowledge that they are already learned about acid and alkali during the Form 2 lessons. Next, since students already learned about the basic concept of acid and alkali, they can relate their prior knowledge of the role of water in showing the acidity and basicity. Next, if the student know well about the previous lesson and understand well what the property of acid and alkaline are, then they will understand the role of water in showing acidity and basicity. This is the main concept to achieve the conceptual goal.
Okay, for hi, my name is Sumita. For Appendix D, we will start with our learning objective. The learning objective first is based on three objectives that student will learn, which are 6.1. Okay, 6.1 is define acid and alkaline. 6.12 is state the meaning of basicity of an acid, and 6.13 is investigate the role in showing acid and alkaline properties through experiment. So at the end of the lesson, students should be able to describe the definition of acid alkaline throughout the activities. For example, is that in addition, they should able to express the meaning of acid and alkaline, analyze the role of water in showing acid and alkaline. By doing this, student will relate everything via class point activity. Therefore, our learning objective clearly connects the phenomena and conceptual goal for the topic acid, base, and salt. If the student can perform better in assessment, that means they understand learning objective and able to complete the performance expectation. For Appendix E, the assessment, we have choose three criteria: quiz, traffic light reflection, and homework. For quiz, students are able to define the meaning of acid and base, can give example of the use acid and alkaline in daily life, and can explain the role of water in acidity and basic properties. For traffic reflection, which we held in post class, teacher instruct the student to do an reflection using Google Jamboard. In this part, students may talk or express their feelings or reflection about the lesson learned at the end of the class. Homework, teacher will give homework that based on some question that given here, which is more to hot questions, and they have to submit in the next class. So far there's about 5 questions for them to answer in the class. For the appendix F is STEM. And for STEM practice, we have chosen SP3 planning and career investigation. In this STEM practice, students plan and carry out an experiment of the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. Teacher will assign students into several groups where they have to where they have to collaborate collaboratively by discussing with their friend have to carry out this experiment, which is systematic and needs them to analyze and to clarify the result from the observation. Engineering investigation identify the effectiveness efficiency of their experiment. So by end of this experiment or planning and carry out this investigation, the role of water in showing acid and alkaline properties by litmus paper. Number one, identify the phenomena, which is students should able to identify the phenomena changes of litmus paper due to acid and alkaline properties. The purpose of experiment in the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. Number two, we have to students should able to take parameters into accounts like students know how to undergo the experiment of roles of water in showing acid and alkaline properties, and they have to collaboratively discuss with their friends to get the result from the observation, and they also should consider the investigation is appropriate to use, and the things that they should consider is apparatus needed like test tube, newspaper, gloves, and material like lemon and soap. So the data should would be collected by watching video and into a table form like this. And throughout this experiments, a student should consider these three impacts: environmental, social, and personal impacts. About talking about hypothesis, students should able to make a hypothesis that the litmus paper will change color when there's a chemical reagent with water, and litmus paper won't change if the absence of water in a chemical reagent. And they should able to conduct an investigation. If it's a physical class, they will do hands-on activity, and if it's a virtual class, teacher will record a video and students have to observe the video and have to record the data, including all the observation, and teacher will give instruction of the experiment like the data should be observed and collect in a table form, and they should able to make a calculation for data collection. There is four requirement. They have to identify the variable, collect the observation, and make a tabulation. All the performance of the procedures, the material process, all of the range system under range of condition, and to get the result as evidence to answer a scientific question given by the teacher, which is considered the science thing. And then evaluation of experiment, students should able to make a appropriate experiment for apparatus for this experiment, the way to collect the observation, and the method to analyze the data. And students should analyze the data at the end of this experiment to get into discussion with their friends and make conclusion.
Okay, now I will continue the STEM, which is Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics practices. Okay, so in this lesson, how can we make it explicit connection between the target STEM and DCI? Okay, so in the exploration part, students will work in groups to determine the step that they can do to understand the concept of the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. So the keyword here is the student will work in groups so that they can understand the concept better. Okay, so the student will think about the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. In the design, when planning how to investigate a scientific question, the teacher will ask the student the step to conduct the experiment. Okay, so before the students going to have the experiment or going to do the work together to understand the concept, they must know the step first, which is the procedures. So in case the student make mistake while conducting the experiment, instead of the teacher telling the step, the teacher will ask question like, okay student, before putting the litmus paper inside the test tube, should there be a chemical reagent? Okay, so connection between this science practice and DCIs make explicit to the students in applying their knowledge in science and the lesson they learn before to be able to relate to daily life. So the point here is before they're going to conduct the experiment or before they're going to use the knowledge in their daily life, they have to know the basic concept or they have to know on how to do it. Okay. So they will be able to differentiate the properties of acid and base and how water is important to show acid and base properties. Okay, so now second one is how does this lesson make explicit connection between the target STEM and cross-cutting concept, which is CCC. Okay, so the lesson plan in the lesson plan shows the student make explicit connection between SP3 and cross-cutting concept. So students need to develop explanation of the meaning of the role of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties, and they can relate to cross-cutting concept in both skills and values. Okay. So students should observe the experiment to see the role of water in showing acid and alkaline properties. So here the teachers have to give an experiment so that the students can see and can analyze the role of water in showing acid and alkaline properties. So while observing the experiment, they can develop the value of being systematic, confident and ethical while being responsible for the safety of oneself, others and the environment. Okay. So the SP3 in skills relates because it involves the students to observe the changes of color of the litmus paper. Okay. Therefore, the students are required to communicate with the group mate to make a conclusion based on the result achieved and share the understanding about this topic to the teacher. Students also will have to compare and contrast the changes of litmus paper that will develop in explanation in SP3. So as we can see, the connection between target STEM and cross-cutting concept is more student-centered and will result as students can understand the topic better.
Next, we move to cross-cutting concept. So how does this lesson make explicit connection between the target of cross-cutting concept and disciplinary core idea? First, students need to identify the acid and base properties and roles of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties, which are closely related to the disciplinary core idea chemistry process. Next, skills are being implemented in these experiments analyzing the changes of litmus paper color. For example, students learn about the changes of color of litmus paper due to the acid and alkaline properties. Students will observe the color change of litmus paper when chemical reagents react with water. If the reaction is acidic, blue litmus paper will turn to red color, but red litmus paper remains unchanged, and if the reaction is alkaline, then blue litmus paper remains unchanged and red litmus paper will turn to blue color. Thus, students will link this observation with the roles of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties. Next, students communicate with their friends to explain what they observe in the experiment and analyze the result. As students learn about the microscopic, the use of videos will help students to see in this topic that is related to their daily life and easy to understand the concept. When students see the change of color in litmus paper, they will have an initiative not to pollute the water because they know when acid reacts with water, it will exhibit its corrosive property, which are corrosive. Therefore, this reaction will give an impact on students that polluting water will harm themselves. This is to prove that both disciplinary core idea and cross-cutting concept are related to each other, which explicit students are learning. There are two levels of representation in chemistry, which are the microscopic level and the submicroscopic. The microscopic level is the level when the knowledge can be touched, seen, or smelt. In the experiment, which shows the roles of water in showing acidic and alkaline properties, the students can touch lemon and soap with their hands. Students can touch, smell, and look at the materials. They also can know and explore the properties of acid and alkali. When they do the experiment, they can see the change of color of the litmus paper from blue to red, which indicates the acidity of substances, and also the change of color of the litmus paper from red to blue that shows alkaline of substances. So, the observation that the student can see, touch, and smell help them to construct their knowledge. For the submicroscopic level, reaction between lemon and soap with water only can show acidic and alkaline properties. When an acid is dissolved in water, Acid molecules will ionize to produce hydrogen ions, which is H+. The presence of H+ allows the acid to show its properties. When an alkali is dissolved in water, alkali molecules will ionize to produce hydroxide ions, which is OH-. The presence of hydroxide ions, which is OH-, allows the alkali to show its properties.